Hello, everyone, and welcome to Washington to Westminster, the show that straddles an ocean and says, wow, things are really crazy on both sides of that ocean. My name is Andrea Smith, here with you from the Phoenix News Network, and with me, as always, is my fabulous co-host from the Interesting Times. It is Matt Johnston. Matt, the Times continue to not be uninteresting. I'm curious, how are things over there? Because they're batshit insane over here.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, our news over here, much the same, I think, of probably the last few months, is basically your news over there, with a little bit of a twist. I saw a interview with Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, and this is about as far as we're getting. She didn't actually name Donald Trump. She said America. She was upset and angry with the fact that America has launched into an attack against Iran with no preconceived plan. Well, the thing is, Rachel, there was a plan, and it's going to get explained by the American on the show, Andrea Smith. She's going to tell you what the plan is. Over to you, Andrea.
Okay, we're playing four-dimensional chess over here. The plan is, step one, bomb stuff. Step two, see what happens. And we are right on track with that plan. It's going great. We are seeing exactly what happens when you bomb the Middle East. Apparently, we're doing Iraq War II, oil and gas boogaloo right now. But, things are going so well that we could be in the Middle East for another 20 years, which is great because we were really starting to miss it after we got out last time.
Why not? Why not? And opened a few big McDonald's and things and Burger Kings down there while you're there.
Sure. That's what was missing was a Burger King in Tehran.
Did you know, by the way, that in fact, I guess you probably wouldn't have done, but you were asking me before we came on air how things are playing over here in the way of Trump bombed Iran. Not great for so many reasons, but probably the biggest one, this goes back to Rachel Reeves' problem again, is that apparently, financially speaking, out of all the G7 countries, we're getting hit the worst.
Oh, really? Why is that?
I don't know. Sorry, I beg your pardon, to get much beyond the headline on that one. It was just on the BBC website shortly before I came on air. So go have a look, people. Be able to find out what it's all about. But I imagine it's because we rely so heavily on our energy, on our oil, etc., from that particular area.
And you probably aren't as big of a rush to get the solar panels because it's cloudy all the damn time.
Yeah, not a lot of good over here.
You need like a rain-powered system. Like instead of solar power, you need like rain power, where like every time a raindrop hits a roof, it makes energy. Like you guys should look into that. I think that's the future for you. But we all got to get off of this oil thing.
Now, funny you should say that. They have something in Manchester where notoriously rains so much of the year, but they have something in Manchester where it rains on these sheets of basically liquid, and it sort of spills the liquid off, and it shows you the latest buses coming or something like that. There's more of a sort of story there, but it's such a clever piece of technology, so it can be done.
Okay, great. Well, I would recommend that you pour all of your time and energy into that. If there is one good thing about this particular little jaunt to the Middle East, it is that, I have solar panels on my house. We have an electric car, and boy, do we feel smug about having that electric car right now. We have a thing in the garage. We plug it in. It's super cheap to charge it. We got solar panels on the roof to provide the energy to do that. And I think if there's anything that shows us the folly of relying completely on oil and on this little tiny waterway that's like this big, this little tiny.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think it's to scale, but sorry.
Yeah. I'm just saying maybe we don't put all of our eggs into one basket, guys.
Yeah.
We're learning a valuable lesson, if nothing else.
Yes, we are. The problem with oil and gas, of course, and any fossil fuel, is that it's going to run out. It will eventually run out. It may already have run out, and we got no idea. Nobody's going to tell you, are they? Nobody's going to. Wait, we're all out of here. You're all out of there. Got any over there? That sort of thing. So yes, we definitely need an alternative.
Yes. Now I am curious about how Keir Starmer's approval rating is looking these days? Because I know for a while it's been very bad, but lately he seems to be growing a bit of a spine and saying, "Hey, Donald Trump, we're not gonna just let you do whatever we want. We don't like this Iran war thing that you're doing, and you no more free lunch for you, sir." So is that helping to make him a little bit more popular, or is he still pretty down in the dumps?
Yeah, he's still pretty down in the dumps. I don't think there's going to be an uptick to this. If there's a bit of positivity for Starmer, it's kind of looking like his um, lack of popularity is leveling out rather than continuously going
Great.
down. Um, Now we've got,
Yay.
while you're talking on the subject, we've actually got local elections next month.
Ooh.
And I was all ready to show you my voting card and stuff, and I can't find it. So I've got a couple of weeks to look around for that. But yes, we've got local elections. Now, have been mentioned as the biggest elections since the general election. In fact, we're not electing any MPs. We're
Okay.
electing the Scottish Parliament, the Welsh Parliament, and all 32 boroughs in London.
Okay.
And a few other English counties as well. But yes, they're all local elections. We're electing about 2,000 English councillors.
Okay. Okay. And so I know you like to make predictions. How do you think it's going to go, and how has that changed over the past month since this Iran war mess started?
Right. I think you're right. I think the Iran war and the fact that Farage was so behind. I mean, he's following this guy on the campaign trail, for goodness sake, so behind Trump. I think it's going to come back and bite him, not massively, but to a fair amount. Um, and I don't think he's going to have quite the sort of sweeping power that he did. In Scotland, it's looking like the Scottish National Party are probably going to sweep up because they've been doing rather well there. In Wales, though, Reform could do quite well in Wales. In London, no chance. No chance. Reform have never had much of a footing there. Interesting part might come. Was it last time we spoke about the fact that the Greens won a by-election?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so the Green Party won a by-election. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the rest of England because they continued being very popular, but also massively because London's been such a Labour stronghold. It'll be interesting to see if they can make inroads within the 32 London boroughs.
Okay, great. And so what day is the by-elections next month?
It's the 7th of May, which will be the first Thursday.
Okay, great.
Was
Then
it the
you and
second
I
Thursday?
think we'll talk right after that, so you can
Yeah.
let us know how it turns out.
Oh, absolutely. You couldn't shut me up on that on that matter. Talking of being shut up, um, we put it off for long enough. So, what's the latest on he who shall not be named?
Well, something interesting has happened. And I don't know if you've heard about this, but some of his most stalwart defenders have been coming out and saying we need to use the 25th Amendment. Now, do you know what the 25th Amendment is?
I don't. I'm not too familiar with the first 24. I'll be honest, but I know the first two. I beg your pardon, but not beyond that.
There's some good stuff in there. Some stuff about, there's one about quartering soldiers that's just delightful. No, the 25th Amendment basically says that if the president is unable to fulfill his duties for whatever reason, usually we think of it as medical, we can invoke the 25th Amendment and make him not the president anymore and make the vice president the president. There are increasing calls to do that because of a few things. So, of course, on Easter Sunday, he sent out I'm going to call it a tweet, but it's on Truth Social,
Hmm.
where he was talking to Iran and saying, "Open the fucking strait, you bastards, or you will be living in hell," which is just a very different brand of diplomacy than one that we are used to. And then at the end of it, he said, "Praise be to Allah," the Muslim god, and that was real interesting. But reading that, you're just like, he's gone insane. He's gone completely around the bend.
Yeah.
We don't know what's happening at this point. It's bonkers. Now, some of the voices that have been calling for the 25th Amendment to be invoked are Marjorie Taylor Greene, which,
Oh,
wow.
yeah. She's
Candace
gone right off him,
Owens,
hasn't she?
she has gone right off of him. It
Yeah.
took her a little while, but welcome to the resistance, Marge, I guess. Candace Owens was another one, and Tucker Carlson has been saying that this whole Iran war thing is absolutely insane and completely violates everything that he campaigned on, which
Yeah.
is true. It's really bizarre to be agreeing with these people,
Yeah.
but also it does give me hope because if those people can eventually start to see the light in some small way, maybe there's hope for other people who are not so far out.
Still in the dark. Yes. Yes. Um,
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you see the news about Viktor Orban?
Yes, yes.
There you
He got
go.
the JD Vance bump, and then the bump just boom
It
knocked
was
him right
Mark.
off.
I saw Marco Rubio went there a couple of weeks before as well, and clearly, clearly, these guys don't have what it takes. But he'd been there for 16 years, which insane amount of time, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
that's I mean that's twice as long as any American president so far is allowed to sit, isn't it? So
Yes, yes. I was really excited to see that because it seemed like for a long time, what was happening was the brand of, Trumpism that was happening
mm,
over here kept spreading, and it, with Farage and things like that, it looked like it was starting to kind of take hold more in Europe, which was very worrisome. But now it seems like maybe the spell is breaking a little bit.
yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Somebody, a Hungarian sort of journalist, was writing on Twitter and just relaying all this stuff about how Viktor Orban was able to stay in power for 16 years. Yes, he was elected. I'm sorry, I'm doing that. He was elected, but they gerrymandered the crap out the whole sort of country, as it were, in order to sort of
Right.
to get him in. He would use state media in order to sort of keep pushing basically his lies. A lot of this was backed by Putin. I've no doubt it was probably backed by, well, it definitely was backed by Trump, wasn't it? Because he sent his men in there to try and I wouldn't say let's say swing it, and it didn't work.
And that is so comforting that, I wouldn't have thought that JD Vance could go and get someone elected because of his face and personality and stuff.
Yeah,
But it turns out I was right. And in a topsy turvy world where everything feels crazy, it's nice to know that some things still hold true.
yes, yes. Speaking of topsy turvy, didn't he put something on Truth Social about showing him as Jesus?
Yes, he did. He was healing the sick with his golden hands or something like that. And everybody, first the Easter message was, you know, wow, definitely not the most Christian thing that anyone had ever heard, especially the
Yeah,
praise be to Allah part. So Christians have already been like, hang on a minute, is this guy not one of us? And it's like, welcome to the party.
yeah.
We've almost eaten all of the guacamole because we've been here for a while, but you know what? Let me get you some tortilla chips. We'll wake up a fresh batch. It's nice to have you here. Yeah, he posed as, he's this AI thing where he's just in different outfits. And, I saw one where he was a cowboy and he's doing YMCA all by himself. But what was, I think, interesting about that is everybody was like, that is blasphemy. And it's like, well, a lot of other things happen too, sure. But he got into a tiff with the Pope over this. And the Pope had to come out and say, I am not afraid of Donald Trump, which that happens in normal times, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's JD Vance you got to watch out for, right?
Exactly. 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 Yeah, and JD Vance, of course, is Catholic. And so It's just been very interesting over here. And then
Wow.
this latest move of, we went from open the fucking straight, you bastards, to you can't close the straight, I'm closing the straight, which is what?
I got to say that you remember when you, well, I say remember, it was only the other week you had the No Kings rally all over the
Yes.
country, didn't you? Yeah, incredible turnout. Uh, but clearly we've underestimated Trump because he's not going for king. He isn't, you know what I mean? There is a higher calling for this guy.
That's right.
King,
That's
what
right.
sort of loser would be a king? But while we're on the subject, King Charles is due to visit America and Trump, in fact, in late April. Probably another couple of weeks then, I imagine.
Yeah, is he sure he wants to do that now?
Well, there was a poll, and half the country didn't want him to go.
Yeah.
I think about a third did want him to go, but yet half the country were like, no, no, forget it. It does put him, it kind of puts him in a bit of an awkward position. What am I talking about? It puts him in a ridiculous position, doesn't it? You know what I mean? It's just like, I was reading this thing about it that they were saying, provided maybe it will go okay, provided between now and the next couple of weeks, Trump hasn't invaded another country, including the UK, hasn't bombed somewhere else, hasn't insulted this person, that person. I'm like, no, it's going to happen. You've just got to get ready for it. You can't get ready for it.
Yeah, I think about 5 seconds before he arrives, we'll invade Cuba or something like that. So he should just be ready for that. Why is he coming? What is he hoping to do?
So here's the thing. Here's my opinion on it. It's been um, this is one of those separations of government and crown sort of thing. So I
Hmm.
think the government would rather he didn't, but the crown were like, no, we've agreed to this quite a while ago. You know, blah blah blah. We're not going to put this off for any particular reason. Um, I think it's a mistake to go. It does put him in a horrible position, but in a way you could, because he is an apolitical figure, King Charles. He's useful in that regard to be able to turn around and say, "Oh, you know, isn't this wonderful? We're just cementing the special relationship, as it were, which is on very very shaky ground, as you know, Andrea." So
Yes.
I think that's the thinking. At the end of the day, the chance of Europe becoming sort of, doing its own thing, as it were, is virtually, certainly militarily, is virtually zero. We still need America in terms of, intelligence sharing, in terms of sort of military firepower, etc. So I think we're just going to sit back, take our time, try not let him go too crazy, and then in a couple of years' time, we'll go to the White House, go to whoever's going to be the new, hopefully, new person in there.
Yeah, I am hoping that he has a different kind of visit than the head of NATO, who was here recently. And I think they closed the doors for that one and didn't allow cameras in, but apparently it was just a day-long tongue lashing
Wow.
from Donald Trump about NATO. So I'm wondering if, since Charles is a king, and he has, fancier outfits and gold epaulets and things like that, if maybe he can avoid the same fate and have a friendlier time, or is
Yeah.
it just that Donald Trump's gone so far around the bend and he's a mad, angry king, that he'll do the same thing to Charles. It'll be interesting to see which version of Trump he gets.
Yeah, he's quite a kind of, I say, old operator. You know, he's in his 70s now, and he's been round the block a few times, Charles. So you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, here's an experienced sort of individual who doesn't actually have to sort of make any point. So in a way, you'd like to think it's a relatively easy sort of thing. I was reading that there have been times in the past where Charles has had, when he was Prince Charles, in fact, he's had sort of interesting sort of meetups with presidents. I think the first one was Nixon, when he was a young lad, 21, and they would stand him for the press. The Americans would stand him next to Nixon's daughter, and they were both single. So the kind of idea being, oh, we could sort of match these guys up. And you're just like, come on, guys, we know princes and American women don't go together. Okay, we surely must have got that by now. Anyway,
We
and the
tried.
second time was when Ronald Reagan, he got served tea, Charles, with the tea bag still left in. I mean,
Oh, 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 oh
yes.
my.
Can I just say, America, do you not have teapots or did you shoot them all? You know, because you put it in, if you get a normal thing, cup of tea, sure, stick it in a cup of tea. You got the prince coming round, make a proper pot of tea, leave it there to stew for a while, and it doesn't matter if the tea bags are in or not. Or even get a bit fancy, tea leaves. What can I tell you?
Matt, I have a confession to make.
Go ahead. Is this going to upset me?
This is going to really upset you, probably more than anything else we've talked about today.
Oh,
So I assume after this, you're going to be ready to log off and not talk to me anymore. From time to time, especially if I am, let's say, on vacation at like a vacation rental type place, I have been known to make a cup of water, put the tea bag in, and microwave it for 2 minutes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know. I know.
I was generally sitting there about to say, no, that's fine. You were just talking about stewing it in there for too long or something, but microwave.
I know it's wrong, but it's convenient.
I'm going to need a moment. That's all.
All right. Well, now that I've traumatized Matt, we should probably wrap up.
You know, we talked about finishing on a lighter note, and now to be fair, I thought maybe the tea bags was a lighter note. But did you see that thing with Timothy Chalamet talking about the fact that ballet, nobody's interested in ballet and opera?
Yes.
Well, there's been a bit of a backlash from ballet and opera, but not a huge one. They've been quite smart about it, and I think they've realised that they don't want to come across as snobby by saying, "How dare you? You know, this is only for the elite," that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they've responded by saying, "Actually, your comments have increased our ticket sales, across the board." So thanks, Timothy, including I have to say, hats off to Seattle Opera, who are currently using the promo code Timothy double E for a discount. So there we go. Get it while you can,
Wonderful.
people. All right.
Wonderful. I love opera. I do recommend that everybody goes. You think it's going to be not interesting, but it's actually cool. There's nothing more dramatic than an opera, so
Yes.
it definitely keeps you awake.
Thank you. Yes, and it sort of it really pulls at your heartstrings. Anyway, this isn't an opera. Maybe we should do an opera podcast.
Sure. Yeah, I would be down for that.
All
All
right.
right. One last bit of news. I don't think we've talked about this yet, but you and I are going to get to meet each other in person in a couple of months because I am coming to London on vacation. So that's going to be exciting times. I can't tell how tall you are from this, but just know that you're going to be surprised by how short I am. Okay.
Well, you'll be amazed by how short. Honestly, I actually virtually have no legs. I'm actually stood on the seat at the moment. I'm 3'2".
Great. Okay. Good to know. All right. Well, everyone, stay sane out there. We're going to try and do the same. We will be back next month. We'll see how those elections went over in the UK. We will see what parts of the Middle East remain unbombed, and we'll see if the 25th Amendment has been invoked. Lots to look forward to. Matt, thank you as always, and everyone else, see you next time.
Bye bye.